In the season finale, Ward Cameron starts explaining to Sarah that what he did by faking his own death was the only way to keep the family together. She, however, doesn't want to hear it. She slaps him, she's upset. He continues to tell her, though, how he did it. It was the scuba gear. He says that it was never his intention for her to see what happened on that dock that day, and he wanted to reach out and tell her that he was alive, but he couldn't. As Ward is talking to Sarah, Rafe takes Wheezy down to the hall and shows her the cross of Santo Domingo because he really enjoys showing everybody the cross that, quote, he got for the family. Don't forget that. But as he's loudly boasting to Wheezy that he got the cross and how much money it's worth, some of the crew are overhearing this. And then when he leaves, the idiot doesn't even cover it up. He just leaves it out. Rafe and Wheezy then walk up to meet up with Sarah and Ward's still kind of explaining to Sarah how he did it. And Sarah just can't get over the fact that Ward did all of this to free Rafe's name when Rafe is a psychopath. They get into a pretty big spat, and Sarah is very angry, but Ward assures everybody she'll be better once we get to where we're going. And Ward is taking the family to a place right off of Guadalupe, but Sarah has zero interest of going there. She wants to, at the very least, tell her friends, and of course her boyfriend, that she's okay. And Ward says, sure, you can call them when we arrive. By the way, John B. knows you're here. He came to the house and was looking for you, and Rose told him where you were going. Rose ended up trading the cross for you. Sarah doesn't believe that at all, but Ward points out that they handed John B. a $500 million artifact. Yeah, he was okay with losing you. Little does Sarah know that none of that's true, and John B. is actually on the ship, although he's slowly being cooked in a shipping container. The group knows they need to formulate a plan to get the hell out of there, and JJ's plan is to go to the ship's armory, arm themselves up, and then take over the ship. And Key thinks this plan is absolutely ridiculous, but as she's looking around the shipping container, she finds a small hole that they can get out of. So the group start working on a way to get the grate off of the shipping container so they can get the hell out of there. As they're doing that, Sarah's working on a way to get the hell off the boat. She fakes seasickness so she can get out of the room, and as she's trying to find a way to communicate with the mainland, she ends up seeing the cross of Santo Domingo because Rafe was an idiot and left the lid off. So she's aware that her father lied to her. She then makes her way up to the top deck where she's able to get a satellite phone and start talking to somebody in maybe the Coast Guard, but she's caught by the captain. The captain has to call up Ward and he is pissed off. He didn't sign up for this. And he then demands double. But Ward says, if you get us safely there, I'll give you triple. And the captain's starting to wonder, what exactly do you have on my ship? But Ward tells him it's just nothing more than an old artifact from a church. Don't worry about it. I'll get my daughter in check. At this point, the Pogues have made their way out. They've decided that John B. and Pope should be the ones to roam around the ship, while Key and JJ sit back. Pope going after the cross, and John B. going after the armory. It doesn't end well for both of them. John B. is able to get into the armory, but he's caught by a guy. He's only able to get away when he blasts him in the face with a fire extinguisher. And as he's trying to get back to the shipping container, he sees Ward arguing with Sarah, so he knows Ward is alive. Pope, on the other hand, was trying to make his way to the cross and find it when he ran into somebody in the engine room who's working on a boiler that's set to explode. And that person just so happens to be Cleo. She asks Pope for help thinking that he's working on the ship, but then she realizes that she doesn't recognize him. And the entire staff has been on alert to look out for stowaways. So since Cleo doesn't know Pope, she starts screaming, I got one, I got a stowaway. And Pope and her start fighting it out. Eventually, Cleo ends up winning, getting him at knife point, and that's when Pope starts to explain himself. He tells her, I'm here because they took something that belongs to me and I'm here to get it back. And my best friend's girlfriend is being held hostage on this ship and I'm trying to save her. Her name's Sarah Cameron. And when Cleo hears the name Sarah Cameron, that definitely piques her interest. Pope then tells her that the boyfriend is John B., so she says to Pope, if you're lying, I'm going to cut you. Cleo and Pope start heading back to the shipping container when they run into John B., and John B. can't believe that Cleo is on the ship. But Cleo's working, so she can't believe that John B. is stowing away on her ship. She explains that after what they did in Nassau, it just got too hot. She needs to take another job. The group then make their way back to the shipping container. John B. introduces everybody to Cleo, the person who helped him out in Nassau, and Cleo cannot believe that their plan was to try to hijack the ship with no weapons. She explains that if they're caught, the captain will kill them and just dump them overboard. Key says, what if we just wait until we get to port and then we just take off? But Pope explains that he's run this scenario 1,000 times, Doctor Strange style, and their best chances are on the ship because there's 15 crew members and 5 of them, 3-1 odds. If they wait till they get to port, there's going to be way more of them. So after Pope explains that their only option is to stay on the boat, John B. reveals that Ward Cameron is alive. He saw him. And that's when it sinks into the group that Ward Cameron is about to get away with everything again. He's going to get the gold, he's going to get the cross, he's going to get Sarah, and he's going to get off scot-free. And JJ says, yeah, that's not happening. So their only option is to take the ship. But unlike the last attempt they had, at least this time, they have an inside man in Cleo. The plan they decide on is to go to the captain and get him at knife point. He then announced to the crew to meet in one room. They lock the crew in there, and then they just take back what's theirs. Before they can actually go through with this plan, though, they hear something outside. And that's because now that the boat knows there are indeed stowaways, they're really checking every inch of the thing. So Cleo has to frantically hop out of the shipping container and tell the crew members who are checking them, hey, I already checked this one right here. Don't worry about it. Let's move on to another one. After the crew members move on, Cleo sneaks Pope out. Now, Cleo and Pope are the ones to make their way up to the captain. Cleo holding Pope, pretending he's a hostage. But when he gets close to the captain, that's when the two start beating the crap out of him. And surprisingly, this plan works. An announcement goes over the intercom for all crew members to meet in one location. While Pope and Cleo were taking the ship, Ward was escorting Sarah back to the cabin against her will. He's got her tied up, and he claims he doesn't want to do that, but he can't trust her. And she says, well, I can't trust you. That whole story about the cross, it was a lie. I saw the cross. He tells her that one day she's going to grow up, and she's going to see that all these decisions have been for her. She starts telling him, though, you are manipulative, you are a liar, and you are a murderer. And that's when he goes off and smacks her. This actually causes a little bit of a fight between the two, where Ward ends up getting hit by an item on the ship and frees up Sarah enough time to get away. And shortly after that is when everybody gets the announcement to meet in that one location. When JJ and Key hear it, they head to where they're going to lock the crew in. But they're waiting for one person to show up, and that's Ward Cameron. But he doesn't. And after a while, they can't wait anymore. So they start locking the crew in, and it takes a lot of effort, but they're able to do so. After locking the crew in, Key and JJ go and they find the cross. And then the roof opens up, and when they look up, there's Pope, victorious. Now all they have to do is tie up the cross, put it on a lifeboat, and get out of there. While they do that, John B. is running through the ship trying to find Sarah. But he doesn't find Sarah. He finds Rafe. Rafe was also somebody who didn't get locked in by the crew. Rafe has a weapon, so John B. tries to take off, and he's only saved when that boiler finally explodes, and it explodes right in Rafe's face. But the Pogues have a problem. The captain has been able to free himself, and thus he's going off to free his men. They're completely unaware of this, though. JJ, Key, and Pope are trying to get the cross out of there, and John B. is still trying to find Sarah, who is trying to escape on her own, having no idea that the Pogues are even there. And as Sarah is trying to flee, Ward Cameron walks up to her, and she starts screaming, I'm not going with you. And Ward says, I know. I tried to deny it for so long, but it's become clear to me. You're not one of us. Not anymore, and you never will be. But now the problem is, what do I do with you? Sarah says to him, you let me go. But Ward knows he can't let her go because he's worried that if he does let her go, she's going to tell everybody what he did. So instead of letting her go, he starts to choke her out. And she would have been killed if it wasn't for John B. coming to her rescue. He rips Ward Cameron off of her and goes to check on her, but Ward Cameron ends up attacking him back. The battle between John B. and Ward actually ends pretty ironically. It ends with Ward smacking his head against the boat, which is very similar to how John B.'s dad died. John B. gets down and asks him, is this how you did it? Is this how you killed my father? You just probably threw him in the ocean? Because I never got to say goodbye to him. It seems like John B. is about to throw Ward in the ocean, but then he sees the look on Sarah's face and decides against it. Sarah and John B. then hop in the lifeboat, but they know they have to get the others. And the battle between Ward and John B. wasn't the only fight going on the ship, because Key and JJ came upon the captain, and they had to fight him off. The captain ended up knocking out JJ, and he fell into the ocean, and Key jumped in after him because JJ was knocked out and would have drowned if she hadn't done so. So they're just floating on the other side of the ship, hoping that anybody will come save them. While all of this is going on, Pope is trying to steer the cross, but the crew ends up coming up with shotguns and starts shooting at him. And after a while, Pope realizes this probably isn't going to end well. So if I can't have the cross, nobody can. And he drops it in the ocean. And it would have sank to the bottom of the ocean if it wasn't for Rafe jumping and grabbing a rope and barely holding on until other members of the crew also come. Unfortunately for Pope, he has to watch the cross be pulled back up out of the ocean. Luckily for Pope and Cleo, they are quickly picked up by John B. and Sarah in the lifeboat. They then head to the other side of the ship to pick up JJ and Key. They speed away, and shortly after that, JJ wakes up from his head wound. But as they're heading to a deserted island, Pope says, this shit ain't over. Back on the ship, Ward is pretty banged up. The crew lets the Cameron family know that they'll have a doctor waiting for him when they pull in a port. Rafe goes to visit his dad and tells him everything is going to be okay. Everything worked out in the end. I got the cross. We have the gold. We have everything. But he can tell by the look on Wirt's face that they don't have everything. They're missing Sarah. So Rafe tells him, we'll find her. Don't worry. And Sarah, along with the rest of the Pogues, have made it to that deserted island. They start to kind of pout about the fact that they don't have anything. This is the lowest they could possibly get. But John B. starts pointing out all the good things that happened. The fact that they have their own island, for Christ's sake. So the crew starts making that little island a home. Back in their actual home in the Outer Banks, their parents are worried sick. Shu puts out a statement saying the teenagers are missing, but right now it doesn't look like foul play is suspected. And if anybody has any information leading to the whereabouts, let the police know. But back down in the Caribbean, Barbados actually, Carla Limbry shows up. And it wasn't uninvited. She got a letter asking her to come. It's this random house, and she asked the guy, how's he doing? And the person who answers says, well, he was half dead for a while. She then heads to the back of the house and says to the guy, you wrote me? And there, very alive, is Big John Rutledge, who tells her, I know where the shroud is, and I can help you. But first, you have to help my son. And that is the end of Season 2 of Outer Banks. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Consider subscribing to the channel. If you liked it, hit thumbs up. If you thought it sucked, smash that thumbs down button. I'd rather have you hit thumbs down than put a nasty comment, because nasty comments make me feel bad. I have merchandise. Go buy a sticker. Who doesn't like stickers? Once again, though, thank you so much for checking out this recap. And don't forget, if you needed it, somebody else probably needs it. So share it.